Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 67 of Midnight Poppyland on the Story Tinker. And today we have Veronica, and who has been with us before, and Debbie, who is new and who will hopefully say a few words about herself.
Hi, my name is Debbie, and I am from Long Island, New York. I've been reading about webtoons and Midnight Poppyland about a year. Die-hard fan, absolutely love it. The obsession is real.
Yes.
I don't know what else to say about myself, but very excited to be here for this. This is my very first podcast, so thank you for having me.
Thank you, Debbie, for coming on. I hope it will be fun.
Yeah.
All right, so we start out with the last couple of episode panels that we had last episode, which was Poppy receiving a text from an unknown number saying, "It's me, Julri. Your granny's in the hospital now. You might want to come see her." And we weren't sure if it was, and we'll get some more details about that soon. And we also open up now. We have, first of all, did you guys notice we have a new logo?
Yes.
We do have a new logo. Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's to me, it's really the combination of the poppies are poppy, right? And it's the sweetness. And we had the blood stains last time, but now the Midnight Poppyland, it's kind of like this very, it's used for horror, I think, a lot, right? So it's that good combination of okay, we're ramping up the mafia side and the anxiety inducing side now, in season 2. So it's appropriate.
Yeah. It just shows that there's so much that's going to happen in this season. She's already throwing in so much to absorb.
And what did she call it? The murder font? I love the murder font.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm honestly I don't know if I'm prepared, because in my heart I'm oh, it's about the romance and the sweetness. I'm not anticipating horrible things happening, and I think they will.
I know. Now you're like, shit, man, what if something bad happens to anyone? It never even I never prepared myself for it, because I'm nah.
That's fine.
It's Tora will never let anything bad happen. So
but what if something bad happens to him? Yeah, that's
yes.
Yeah.
True. So now we go back to Gil, who has been reliving this monologue, this scene in his head. He, leaves the office, and he's in a scene which is apparently his wife. She's sitting there, being angry at him. "We're now drowning in debt after that harebrained business scam you pulled, and those friends of yours are still hounding us, hounding me." And now we have a new line: "They even know where my family lives now." Okay, that's really bad and scary, and you can understand why she is upset.
Yes.
I have to say that to me, that screams mafia. If bill collectors don't come knocking at your family's door, or the mafia does.
Right, exactly. And even if the bill collectors know where your family is, that wouldn't be scary. You'd be okay, they just hand you a letter.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, agree. It's scary for her. So they're probably not the most savory people.
Yeah. But I'm surprised she can even, she's finding a sense of empathy for him with that panel. Of it just her with the black background. You can see how worried she is for him.
Interesting. That's funny that you interpret it as empathy. I just see it as just worry in general. But that's a nice concept, a nice interpretation.
I only say that because of what she says afterwards. I love you so much. I really do. So it shows, and then she's looking, she turns away and she looks down. So it's a part of her is it's she actually also just genuinely feels bad for him in the situation.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm more with you, Mindy, because I feel a sense of anxiety, because this is filtered through his thoughts, and she looks fearful in that one scene with the one panel with just her in the black background, and she's sounds like she's almost trying to appease him. I love you, really do, but like she's afraid of him. But if I'd known it would turn out like this, like she's angry, and his body language is he's not even facing her. He's just completely looking away and another couch and just not even engaging with her at all. And she sounds like she's trying to appease him, like, I love you, but I made this mistake, and now what do we do about this? Now we're stuck in this situation. And he's
so interesting, because I totally see like that both of yours have like legitimacy, that both interpretations.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, that's what makes this podcast great and this webtoon great, is like people can just have their own interpretations of this story and make it more them and take away something like much more personal.
And we won't even know what the truth is until future episodes and we find out what happened to the wife.
I know. And then you're like, damn, didn't see that coming.
Yeah. So that is scary, because she says, you know, I would have reported, if I would have known it would have turned out like this, I would have reported all this nonsense while I could, so I can live my life in peace. And then we have,
now, what is this nonsense?
Yeah, she's minimizing it rather than calling it like fraud, probably, or who knows what else it was, but for sure fraud. She calls it nonsense. I think, do you think she's trying to, like, maybe this goes into with like your interpretation, Veronica, maybe she's trying to minimize the badness of what he did so he doesn't feel so threatened?
Maybe. Well, but I mean, also, I'm just trying to figure out, I'm like, who would she report this nonsense to?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Or
would she have, would she have done that to her husband?
So that's what she's saying.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I can understand. And I mean, I'm really hating Gil at this point, but like,
oh yeah,
you can understand how, especially someone who was probably a bad person like Gil, would just take that as unacceptable. Like, he probably needs absolute loyalty to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's definitely emasculating him and belittling him by calling it nonsense.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
At least according to him, right? And his sense of like pride and his need.
Yeah, especially when he stands up and like kind of starts hovering over her.
Oh my gosh.
In a very like creepy, threatening way, with his pubic looking fucking chin hairs
and that crazy look in his eyes. It's like
what? Like, I don't know, like Gil went from being in the beginning of the comic just like a neutral guy that like we didn't think about at all, and now he's like so fishy. I know that's fun, and I know, but it's so perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he comes up to her and he's like, now that sounds like a plan to me. And that look on her face when she looks up at him, and again, that angle that Lily is showing us, it's from his perspective, which shows him like kind of towering over her. Again, like dynamic, like he has the power, at least in this scene. We don't know much about their relationship really, and she has a very nervous look on her face, and she stammers like, well, what do you mean? And I'm sorry, a wife should never look at her husband that way.
No. That's not a good way to look at.
Sorry, my dogs.
Yeah, when she's looking up, she's clearly nervous, and he's remembering it, and not even. And the scary thing, the same thing that gives me chills, is he's not even remembering it with like sadness or regret. He's just like anger. He's remembering her, just the whole thing, the way he starts thinking about it when he's standing outside the door and he first starts thinking about that whole situation. Like when she's, what have you accomplished, Gil? Nothing, nothing. And now we're drowning in debt. And he goes over that whole thing, and then it ends with him standing over her. It's just, to me, it's kind of chilling. This whole situation.
It's very creepy, especially with like how the shadows are just kind of taking over.
Yeah.
And swallowing her. Like, that's creepy. That's creepy.
Last episode, Patty was like, she was like, well, I don't know if, you know, the wife is still alive anymore. Maybe Gil did something to her. And I was like, I don't know. I don't see that. And then this episode came along and I was like, Patty, you're right.
Like, where did he bury the body?
I know.
Gosh.
Like, it just makes you feel like he did something. He just did something to her.
So somebody had this theory where when he says, we should have reported this nonsense to the police while it was just good. And he's like, oh, that's a good plan. Somebody said maybe he wants to throw, I forgot, it was someone on Patreon. And I used to write down all the Patreon comments and attribute it to the right person. And I don't have the time for that. So thank you to whoever it was. They said that maybe he plans to throw Poppy under the bus and blame it on Poppy using the notebook to like frame her. The fact that she had that notebook.
Oh, I totally think that. For sure. Because he has it out for her. Hardcore.
I have this wild theory. I'm wondering if,
We love wild
and this is way, way out there, that she got this job when she was still with Julri. And maybe somehow he knew Gil and he connected them and made that connection and kind of gave her, got her the job. And because he, in the last episode, he was like, I gave you the job and give you a quote unquote meaningful job in this meaningful life in the city. And
this is how you repay me. And he's like, this is how you repay me after I gave you.
He thought she was a complete pushover, that she was just somebody he could completely manipulate. I'm not convinced yet she knows he's made the connection with her in the notebook, but he knows she's got a connection to Quincy. And he doesn't know who Quincy is or what his deal. So he knows there's some connection there. But then again, what was it? I don't remember what episode it was. It was like episode 40 something, where he's testing her to see if she has the notebook. So he knows something, but what does he know? That's what's driving me crazy. What does he know?
Yeah.
That theory about him and Julri being connected is something that other people have also raised, and there is some evidence for it. The fact that, maybe Gil is trying to get her out of the way or to draw her to Moonbright, and that's why Julri is texting her, or maybe he's pretending to be Julri. But it's interesting because the fact that he said maybe Julri is the one who kind of got her the job, she was a pushover with Julri, and maybe Julri's like, you want a pushover? I got one for you.
Right.
So, interesting.
Yeah.
So maybe there's that connection there, but I have this feeling that we don't know what Julri did. We don't know what his job was, and he was in Moonbright, and Gil had whatever his business was, whatever the shady business was outside of Narran City. So that could have been in Moonbright. Then he could have been employed, but he could have been connected to him somehow to this pyramid scheme. So
that's true. They did say that it was like just outside the city.
Right. So I wonder if Mimi's gonna roll in this. Maybe she'll come up.
It's so cool. I love it. I'm not the kind of person who like connects the dots. Like I'm much more like, for me, like I focus on like the emotional stuff, and I don't like see theories so much, and like, so I appreciate and I love hearing other people like think of things that like I would never think of.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah. Oh, okay.
I wouldn't have made that kind of connection. I try to see things below the surface, but sometimes it just kind of stays right there.
So, and also, Debbie, you were saying that the way that he's talking about it is very chilling, and even the expression on his face after he finishes the memory, when he's standing in the like the hallway, he's completely expressionless. There's no emotion when thinking about what should be a very emotionally laden memory. At the very least, it should be like upsetting or angry or sad or nervous, but he's just blank.
Yeah.
Very sociopathic. Nothing. Just nothing there. Yep. Absolutely. Just like, I'm just standing here thinking about me having murdered my wife, but I won't have any feeling. And where is he going? Where is he off to?
Right. Oh gosh. Yeah. Gil sus this year just got broke. So, and we see him kind of walking out the building and get picked up by a blue taxi, it looks like, which is so funny. I just realized maybe it's a taxi that like Is it our taxi driver?
Ginger beard man. Yeah. I was like, that's Poppy's taxi now. I was thinking.
No, but isn't that one like a darker blue? And it seemed more like a minivan, whereas this just seems like a hatchback.
I called. Okay, so there's two taxis. There's the taxi that she took way back when she first went to the Miracle with the librarian, the nice guy, and then there's a taxi she took a couple episodes ago. It is. I also thought it was a minivan at first, and then people on the podcast were like, no, I think it is a hatchback. So,
but seems to be one cab in the city.
It's just one type of cab.
The librarian had like a sedan, no? I don't think it was a hatchback.
No, that was the librarian. He had a minivan.
Yeah, okay. It was like, it wasn't blue, it was like green or something, or dark.
It was like a darker color. I don't know.
Okay, I think we're maybe over analyzing this text.
You're digressing just a little.
So, and Poppy is also, as soon as basically Gil leaves, Poppy is also walking out the building, and she is calling. She's on the phone, and she says she's not registered at this hospital. What about the past 3 months? No, okay, that's fine. Thank you so much for your help. And she closes the phone and thinks to herself, that was the last medical facility in Moonbright, and Granny isn't there either. Her friends and neighbors aren't answering my call, and I can't get a hold of Danny and Belle. And we see, a little image of them because they're flight attendants. So I'm happy to see Poppy doing this because, she has reason to be suspicious of the text that she got. So I'm happy that she's doing her due diligence and trying to ascertain whether this is legit.
Yeah, but I'm not surprised that she's doing that though too, because it's a very Poppy thing to do, is to do her due diligence and to like figure things out first before jumping to conclusions. At least recently.
Yeah, I think she's very thorough and rational. We always talk about how she is an emotion stuffer. I think she's always capable of putting aside her feelings to do what she has to do in the situation.
Yeah.
Which is great. It's very admirable. I mean, I think that's honestly what being an adult is all about. Doing what you have to do.
Absolutely. And you can almost see her growth, just the way she dresses. She's dressing more like an adult, and she's reacting to Julri more like an adult. Just in the last few episodes, it's not the childish kind of clothes anymore. She's dressing more like somebody her age, which shows, I think, her growth.
I wonder if that will continue. We'll continue to see that.
I think so. It's almost as if Julri was just kind of keeping her in this little box. And now that she's not in it, she's expressing herself more freely, openly, and in a more mature way.
Yeah, well, very early on, she talked about how she didn't trust herself, like with the scene at Regina's Peak, as she didn't trust herself, and her self-doubt overwhelmed her so often and now, especially after that episode where she realized what emotional validation is with Tora, and then it's starting to come to fruition. She's starting to actually grow into herself more, and I think that is seen here. This definitely comes out in this episode, the way she responds to Julri.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's discuss it when we well now. So she decides to call this unknown number, and her hands are trembling when she does. So you can see that she is anxious about calling who probably is, she thinks will be Julri. And I think okay, well, we'll discuss how she talks to him, but I think that's very, very telling. That to me, I remember that there's this phrase that being brave is not when you don't fear something. It's when you fear something and you do it anyway. And
yeah, it's not the absence of fear, but it's facing fear. Yeah.
So Poppy, for her to call Julri is still a difficult thing for her. She still has all those years of being in that toxic relationship where he was, like you said, gaslighting her and putting her down and making her small and diminishing her. And it's not easy for her to just even call him, and just calling him gives her that anxiety. but she's doing it. And, you know, we
Yeah.
know that it's her love for her grandma. And I think, Debbie, like what you were saying, she's growing. She has a guy in her life now who treats her right. And she has other people in her life. She's gone from that toxic relationship for whatever, a month or something. And even that short amount of time is enough to give her courage to face her fear.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy when you think it's only been about a month.
Yeah.
Year and a half, maybe at most.
It's so lovely to see. And like, yeah, let's discuss when we see her wonderful reaction. So it's ringing. She's walking around and someone says, hello, Poppy. And Poppy sits down and says, what happened to my grandma? Is she okay? And Julri's like, so you're finally willing to talk to me? I'm like, right away. Like, it's not about you, Julri. It's about Granny.
Like, wow, way to make it about you so fast.
That pissed me off so much. Like immediately, it's like right there. That's exactly what he's done to her. That I'm going to completely manipulate you. Here's this important information that I have that I'm not going to give you until you give me what I want. That to me is absolute emotional manipulation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That frustrating, like, I want to smack him.
Yeah.
And he flat out is like, yeah, what he said, listen, I'll tell you what happened if you'll just hear me out. Like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah. It's like, let me withhold this extremely vital information about your grandmother and use it as blackmail.
That's exactly what it is, emotional blackmail.
Such a worm. He's a bad person. Very, very bad. And very descriptive.
This is a great description, though. He is. He's absolutely
he is. It's just like fucking textbook definition of like a fucking narcissist and gaslighter. He's awful.
Says, like, I know what I did was wrong, but I love you, babe.
God, like, that makes me want to vomit.
Look at her face. She's like, it's almost like she's like, really? Really?
Thank God Poppy is not stupid enough to like believe him anymore.
Yeah.
Thank God she doesn't fall for it.
Yeah.
A month earlier, she would have.
Just give me a chance to prove that I'm sorry for what I did. Well, how would he even prove it?
By like not telling her anything about grandma, obviously. Like that's the way to prove his love.
Yeah.
You know what? In his mind, I don't know what's going on in his mind, but like people like that are delusional. They don't have the same social instincts, I think, that other people do. They really think they're right. I have my grandfather was like this. My mother's father was like a very emotionally messed up person. And my mother didn't talk to him for many, many, many years. And now she kind of like, she's made peace with the fact that he's just like a broken person. But he always like, he thinks he's right and everyone else is wrong. It just happens to be literally everyone in his life is wrong and he's the only right one. I mean, it's like, he doesn't see, he doesn't see things the way other people do. And Julri sounds like that. Like he doesn't even understand that the very first thing he says is like, oh, I'm not going to tell you anything until you talk to me. Is just
like he doesn't think that that's a wrong thing to say. And that's appropriate and makes sense. Like, how does that even make
so narcissistic?
So narcissistic.
Oh my God, I was Poppy with this guy. And Poppy is shaking on like, he isn't reacting yet. So we're all like, how's she gonna react? What's she gonna say? Is she gonna like feel bad about herself? Is she gonna doubt herself? But she doesn't. While she's shaking, while she's sweating, she says, I would have suggested that you go to hell, Julri, but I don't think hell has an incinerator for human waste.
I love that. I love that.
And then she just hangs up.
We're all like, we're all so proud of you, Poppy.
Like, oh, I'm so proud of our baby girl. Baby girl. She figured out that witty comeback without like weeks later.
Right. And like, this is exactly what everyone wants to tell Julri. Like, I don't know who the most hated person is here. Like, it's either Vincent, sorry, Emily, or like Julri, but like, we all hate him.
I mean, if you want to talk about the parallels in their lives, both of them have trauma. Both have this person who gaslights them manipulates them, treats them like shit, treats them like, and just completely destroys their life in very different ways, but they both have that. And then
yeah, and they both come across having this benevolent kind of like outer character, like, I am doing this for you. Look how good I am at doing this for you.
right, well, that's
Like,
that narcissistic, just scum. Yeah, but yes, yeah, look how wonderful I am. That look what you made me do. Look what I'm doing for you. Look what I've done for you. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm
I
so glad
have
we're all
her.
in agreement.
Our baby girl grew up.
So happy for her. This was the best. This line. Thank you. But it doesn't come without a toll because, you know, she hangs up. We see a panel of her shaking. And then she does what we all have noticed parallels to. She slams her fist into the door next to her. And we know that in episode 36, when Tora was very upset about Vincent, you know, telling Walter not killing those people, he started slamming his fist in the wall, but he didn't finish because he saw Poppy's like strawberry tie and it stopped him. But Poppy does. So like maybe Tora, maybe you need to give her something. Where's that ring?
I know.
She's like, ow.
It's coming. She's like, ow. Like, it hurts.
That's why yeah, this kind of it's not crime doesn't pay, but like yeah, this doesn't really help. Well, you know, it probably does help, even maybe it is worth it, even if it hurts. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's probably cathartic in some sense.
Yeah.
Get some frustration out.
Picturing Julri's face right there when she was banging that.
Absolutely. She
Yeah,
definitely was.
And as much as I'm not a proponent of hitting somebody just because you're angry at them, I definitely see that. But I'm glad that she's that level of angry, because it means that she is that level of angry, and she's not giving in to him. She recognizes he has no right to do this to her. So that kind of gives me hope for if they do face to face, she's not going to fall for him.
Right. She's not blaming herself. She's putting the blame where it belongs, on him.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's like, I love how she's just like, I've never wanted to hurt someone more than I do right now. Like, I was like, yeah, you shouldn't want to hurt him badly. Yeah.
Yep. I mean,
And like,
The fact that Poppy is thinking that, you know, it must have taken a lot for her to get to that. Like, Poppy's not the kind of person who's an aggressive person. Like, some people are more aggressive, right? But she's not. And the fact that she's feeling this way means that he has been a very bad person.
it's
Yeah,
like, why did I even think the conversation would go any differently? Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have put it past him to have like fake that shit as well.
She's finally recognizing, you know, the behavior that he was always displaying and categorizing it and labeling it for what it really was. You know, it takes, I know, like for like abuse victims, right? A lot of times they feel like they did something wrong. Oh, he'll be better. It's because of his childhood. I made him angry. And now she's not in that mentality anymore. She is recognizing that he has the problem, and it's not her fault.
right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think it's just so fantastic to see this. You know, I'm very grateful that I never experienced this personally, I guess, except for with my grandparents. But it's so realistic and it's so relevant to so many people in their life that it's wonderful to see it being portrayed. And it's like a very big issue. So it's great to see like a person dealing with something difficult, making the mistakes, you know, and then coming out of it in a inspiring way.
Yeah.
Right, like breaking the ties of codependency. Absolutely, just not believing, not letting him manipulate her anymore. And in a way, I'm glad, as much as, of course, you know, as part of the romance, we want her and Tora to get together. I'm so glad she doesn't just jump into that with him, because neither one of them are ready for it at this point.
Now, the about Poppy's background, the more we understand her hesitation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which is great. Wonderful story building. And she says, I can't believe he even used a different phone number to catch me off guard. It's like, good thing there's enough physical distance between us for me to cut him off firmly. I wouldn't even put it past him to make this up just to get me back to Moonbright. But dumb, if not for the fact that he sent this photo of Granny and it doesn't look like he faked it. Oh, I know we have
Wait,
this
where does he get a
Oh.
picture of her grandmother? Like talk about manipulation. This pissed me off too. First he refuses to tell her anything. Then he's like, all right, fine, now I'm really pulling out the big guns. And he sends her a picture of the grandmother in bed and still doesn't give her any information. Like, what?
Yeah. Like, that's so fucked up. Like,
Absolutely.
look at her in the hospital bed. You won't figure out where she is until you talk to me, though.
Right.
Like, ugh,
It's weird.
nasty person. Horrible.
nasty.
Okay,
Then-
and we're like, I don't know about you, I was still wondering, I'm like, is it real? Is it not real? Like, what happened? How'd you get it? And then we get a phone call
Mhm.
from Morningstar Hospital, and Poppy's like, and she says hello. She's very anxious. She's nervous. And then we cut to she goes back to the office. She comes in. She looks super miserable, and people are like, "Pops, what happened? Why do you look upset? Was it Tora who texted?" That's Erdene. And Jacob's like, "Yeah, you seem kind of pale. Are you okay?" And Poppy is like, "It was Julri." And she has this like very, very miserable expression on her face. You just feel so bad for her.
Mhm.
Oh, and yeah, I mean, she's surrounded by like there's shadows all around her. So she's experiencing like a very negative, dark world right now.
Mhm.
And Erdene's like, "What? That little bitch, what does he want?" Good for her. Thank you, Erdene, for
Yeah.
saying the right things. And she's like, "I don't know and I don't care. Something happened to my granny. She's in the hospital right now. I'm taking the day off to visit her on Moonbright. Maybe tomorrow as well. Sorry, guys." And she's taking her bag as she goes. And she's like, Erdene is suspicious. She's like, "Wait, Julri told you that? Is he lying to lure you back or something?" And Jacob's like, "Don't sweat it, Pop. She's living on her own, isn't she?" And Poppy says, "Yeah, I thought so initially, but the hospital called and verified that she's with them. She's fine now, but they were told not to disclose further details over the phone." Well, guys, what do you think? Is this a good moment to discuss what is going on?
Yeah, there's so much to theorize here. Because first off, why would the hospital have ever contacted Julri to begin with? Because he's not a relative.
Right.
He's not next of kin. He's probably not emergency contact.
And why is the
Why was it
hospital
him?
right?
How did he know?
And why is that?
Like the hospital even called her.
Yeah, why did the hospital call her at that moment? Like he hung up, couldn't get her to do anything, couldn't talk to her. So suddenly now at the perfect moment, the hospital's calling her. Like this is too suspicious. He calls her, she refuses to talk to him, then she gets the picture, and now all of a sudden, oh yes, so your grandmother is here. I'm sorry we haven't called you sooner, but we can't give you any information. Who makes that decision? You can't give any information over the phone.
Yeah.
Well, I know they usually don't do it, but like if you're a random person, but I don't know how they verify over the phone. That's the truth. But
the thing is, like, they also called her.
Right. She said she called every hospital and they all said no. So why is their number saved in her phone? That was kind of what I was wondering. Like, I don't have hospitals saved in my phone. Well, only the ones that I was like personally involved in, like that we went to. But like, right. So how did they know to call her? Had she already called them and they said no, and now they're saying yes? Is this a hospital that's not in Moonbright? Is it? I mean,
Yeah.
like, oh, it's Morningstar.
And if it's not, maybe wherever this Morningstar is where the hospital is. Maybe the hospital's in Morningstar.
I mean, I got it.
In Moonbright.
Okay, little background. I'm a social worker, and so I work at a psych rehab. So I'm also at my job. I'm also the HIPAA privacy officer. So my first thought was a hospital is not going to call. And I know this is United States and New York law. So my first thought is hospital is not going to call you out of the blue. So I'm trying not to apply this unless they're trying to get in touch with a next of kin. So it kind of makes sense. They might say, yes, your relative is here, but we're not going to give you any further information because we don't know who you are. So that kind of makes sense. It's just the timing of it all. It's just so suspicious that Julri calls then he can't get her to come back to Moonbright. So I'm going to pull out the big guns. I'm going to send you the picture, and I'm going to have somebody at this number call. So this is the number that shows up, the hospital number. And that finally works to get her back there, but with very little information. Very, very suspicious. Just, I don't believe it.
Yeah, and the fact that she couldn't contact anybody, like, do you think he even went as far as to like make it so she couldn't contact all the friends and people that lived around her in Moonbright, like Randy's friends?
Right.
Yeah, like how, again, like why wouldn't the next of kin been someone like a friend or a neighbor?
And why wouldn't they call right away? Or why would they wait and call like she's been there for days? So why call days later? Was she?
Yeah, I mean, it looked like she was just very comfortably set in that bed.
Right. And how did Julri find out about it before she did?
It just none of it makes sense.
It does not make sense. And of
None
course,
of it
I'm
adds
thinking
up.
about it from this side going, this is suspicious. But then again, it could all be just part of the story. This is the way it's set up. It could be other laws, but don't trust any of it.
Mm-mm.
And it goes right back to my paranoia about Julri being connected to Gil somehow.
I mean, it's like plausible with the way it's all kind of coming together.
Where is he going? Where is he going?
Right, so Poppy decides she's going down. She's like, hey, either way, I'm heading down to check on her. I won't feel at ease until I see that she's okay. And then she's like, Erdene, is suspicious. She's like, instructed by who, right? Not to disclose further details. Your granny? Why would she do that? And Jacob's like, okay, Jacob, personally, I don't know why. I wouldn't necessarily go with Erdene's assumption that Granny was the one who said not to disclose further details, but okay. And Jacob's like, yeah, I don't want to worry, Pops. My Nana's exactly the same. And, Poppy's like, oh, it's fine. It'll only be a 2-hour ride if I take the high-speed train. It leaves in 20 minutes, so I gotta go now. Chloe, when I get there, she, hugs Erdene and see you guys. Jacob's like, see ya. And then Erdene's like, wait, Pops. Can I go with you? And she's stammering while she says that. And
I know, and this is not something she does. She says everything with such confidence and assertion. And so for her to just have that little bit of a stammer when speaking says a lot. To not stand so confidently says a lot.
Right. The hand clutching.
Yep. Not her normal personality at all. That to me was like red flag, red flag, red flag. That is definitely something.
And it was red flags for Poppy because she's like, what are you clasping your hands like that?
She is. Yeah, Poppy is very intuitive. Absolutely.
Yeah.
She asked her, you guys, is there something that I'm not aware of? Which, I think that agrees. That was very perceptive of her, like to recognize that. And Jacob's like, what? Huh? Because he doesn't realize he's not.
I really think Jacob really knows nothing. That boy knows nothing.
He's so cute. We love him.
Oh God, he has no idea what he's involved in.
It's amazing. It's like you kind of need a Jacob in there for comedic relief in times like this. So, but even like when he's like, huh, what? Like Erdene looks over to the side. She's like, I don't want to lie.
That she makes, she's like so unbelievable. She's like, no, of course not. And she does not look credible at all.
No. Nothing is convincing in what you're doing right now.
Nope. No.
And she tries to explain it away by saying, sorry, girl, I guess I'm a little hormonal for my morning after pills. And we're like, yeah, we all know because you were with Damien and, you admitted what you did. So, yep, there we go.
Yeah.
Very cute.
I guess they ran out of some stuff.
What?
Oh, yeah. I guess they ran out of some stuff.
But Poppy's face, when she looks at her, like, she gives her this kind of examining stare, nervous examining stare. And then she turns away and she's like, oh, well, phew. But I don't think she believes her. Like she doesn't seem like she believes her with, you know, that the reason that she is like hormonal, or that she's like approaching her saying, oh, can I go with you, is because of like she's feeling hormonal.
Yeah. And then she's like, I mean, that sucks. Like she like really had to force herself to say that. It felt like.
Well, what did she tell Erdene that time about something like getting over is better than getting your way? Just she's pulling that, oh, okay, that innocent act.
Yeah.
Yep. She is.
Wants to get out of there.
Yeah.
She's not willing. She doesn't have the time to confront Erdene and ask her about like why she's behaving like this.
Yeah. That's fair.
Wants to catch the train. It's like, okay, don't worry, I'll be back before you know it. And she runs out. And then Jacob is like, holy crap, is that really the side effect of like that stinks? Was I not paying attention? Probably Jacob.
So clueless.
So cute.
Yeah.
So, speaking of which, oh, might be a little TMI, but maybe it is too much TMI. Basically, I was having a conversation with my husband and he mixed up birth control and menstrual cups. And I'm like, darling.
Wow.
How did you even do that?
Not the same thing.
No,
Very not the opposite.
Right? So
oh, bless his giant heart, giant man. That's really cute because it's so cluelessly adorable.
yes.
I call that like purposeful ignorance. He just does not want to know. I just, out of my realm, I don't want to even dwell on that too much. Yeah.
It's all so relatable. Jacob is hilarious. We love him so much.
He is hilarious. He is like the clueless straight guy who's like, I know nothing about any of this stuff. I don't have sisters. I haven't spoken to my mom about it.
You do have to feel sorry for him. Sometimes he's a little like kind of that puppy that just kind of gets like, kind of, you know,
yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, he's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
Does, you know, and he's like, while he's talking, he realizes that Erdene is not answering him. Like he does realize that she's still standing staring at the door, and he's like, Dean, because she's not responding. She's got something on her mind. What is on your mind?
Why are you pacing?
And then like we have a clack clack clack, you know, it's a time jump, and he's typing and Erdene is pacing, and he's still clacking, and sorry, my panels are not loaded. And he's like, seriously, you've been pacing for 30 minutes. If you're so worried, why not just call her? I'm like, Erdene pacing 30 minutes?
I know. So unlike her.
Yeah, what is she? She's not the anxious type. She's the type that puts it out there and lets the chips fall wherever they might, and that's it. She's going to be her absolute genuine self, whoever she pisses off, and this is just not like her. That's why they're something's up.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, yeah, I don't want her to feel like I'm being pushy, which I happen to think, like, I relate to that because I relate to Erdene a lot. I think I'm a lot like Erdene, and I probably am pushy sometimes, so I can relate to her like being worried about being pushy. So whether that's true or not, I can understand that sentiment.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, but yeah, I should just call. And I know Julri's a tool, but Poppy's a grown adult. She can handle this. Thank you, Jacob. Like, that's a very,
I know.
Yes.
for all his cluelessness before, that is a great statement.
Mm-hmm.
I think he recognizes that in a way Erdene treats Poppy like a younger sister, and siblings can underestimate them. They're used to seeing them as the babies. So I think he recognizes that Erdene maybe like treats Poppy like she's a little kid sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's just kind of like, but she's a grown adult. She can do this. She can handle it.
It's so affirming. Like he believes in her. He believes she can
I
handle
know.
it.
He's so adorable, this man.
And it's so ironic because he'll say things to her that's so insulting, but he sees her as a capable adult, like she can take it. She's the grown woman.
Yeah.
Great. But then Erdene says, you don't understand, Jacob. And then she turns around to look at him and she's like, listen, we can trust you, right?
And who is we?
Right.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
When I first read this, I was like, yeah, who's the we? Is it like some shady stuff? Is it her dad? Is it like is she like with Gil and like she's in this whole plot with Gil and she like knows what's gonna happen, but she's like conflicted and she likes Poppy, but she doesn't want to be part of it. I was like inventing this whole theory. And then
oh my god, me too. Yeah.
I don't know. Erdene, like, are you part of like, are you like doing something?
I truly feel like Erdene isn't really part of anything sketchy. I think she just like, you know, has her ear to the ground. She's just someone that has her ear to the ground. So she hears stuff.
No, I don't know. I don't know. Because when is she talking about? Who's we? And is it like Maribel and Danny? And is it that Project PPC or is it her boyfriend? You know, is she still with Pinky? And it's like, what did she hear? Just
one day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what happened? Who is we? That's the big question. And I know that we're being set up for, should we trust Erdene? Should we not trust Erdene? And I love Erdene and I want to trust her, but I'm like, what? So this kind of threw me for a loop. This was the biggest shock.
Yeah.
The fact that her dad was mentioned before, that like being a big guy, and connected to like a bunch of CEOs, that makes me like, we were supposed to know way back that Erdene is well connected, and I'm pretty sure that was for a reason. Yikes.
Yeah, that's true.
But why would she be concerned about Poppy though? If anything, she should be concerned about Gil. If she's hearing something from her dad about some kind of potential problem.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know. Maybe she's worried that like Julri will pull her back in, and she's like, I heard something from, you know, Maribel and Danny. Like maybe that's what it is, and so she's like, you know, but she doesn't want Poppy to know what she heard from those because don't those girls live in Moonbright when they're not working? So maybe they heard some, maybe like they knew some shit was happening, some shady shit Julri was doing, some ploy to get her back. And you know,
other people were saying, since she said, well, I heard about some stuff yesterday, you know, maybe she was still with Pinky, right? Because they slept together like Saturday night.
The whole weekend.
Right. So Sunday morning, maybe she heard something from Pinky that like he let slip or something.
Right. And who's we? Is it we could be her and Poppy. Maybe she and Poppy have a secret, you know, that they didn't tell Jacob because he's him. He's like kind of clueless man in the office. So he's not somebody that they're gonna share this stuff with. So
so many theories.
I know there's so many millions of theories it could be, but she's always been, and this is my feeling though, she's always been so upfront and so fiercely protective of her. If she knew something about Julri, she wouldn't let Poppy go without this information unless she felt it would stop her from going and give her, because she's not going to stop her from going to see her grandmother. So why wouldn't she want to give her information that could help protect her in case she ran into Julri? So I feel like there's something that she didn't want to tell her because she was afraid that it might have stopped her or might have made her angry or stopped her from, or gave her pause to go see her grandmother. What does she know? This is going to drive me nuts, obviously.
I know. It's so horrible. And Jacob's like, stuff? And he gets, you know, he's sweaty, he's nervous. What kind of stuff? And at this point we hear thud.
His face. And he's sweating and he's just like, huh?
He needs to move his desk.
The door slams
He needs to
open.
move away from the door.
Jacob is shoved to the side, and we hear, "Where's Poppy?" And Jacob is like on the floor with his chair upside down.
I know.
He's completely knocked out of the way, and Tora doesn't even notice. He's just like, "Where's Poppy?" Poor Jacob.
Yeah, in there. Yep. Okay, this is the best.
And then we're
The best.
left with the biggest cliffhanger.
Oh, now we're
Yes,
like,
and the big cliffhanger is, why is he looking for Poppy? And this is the
Like after like Erdene had just been pacing for half an hour. Now just like Tora runs up and tries to figure out where she is. I don't know, maybe like he put a tracker or something. No, I don't know if he'll put a tracker on her phone. He wouldn't do that. He
I
already
don't think he would
did
disrespect her like that, not doing that without our knowledge.
Yeah. I mean, he put that motion detector, but that was like not that crazy.
But he
did like park people around her place though. Like, yeah, Tora's a little paranoid.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But he did try to do it as respectfully as possible. There's no camera. It's just literally a motion detector. Just nothing that would overly violate the privacy.
Yeah.
so somebody thought they're like, oh, maybe you tipped her off, but I don't think Poppy would have gone home. I think she would have headed straight to the train station. So I don't think you would have seen her even if he was guarding.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You think so? Because wouldn't she like need clothes? Clothes, toiletries.
Yeah, because if she's going to Moonbright, you would assume she still has it at her grandma's house, right? Because it's like her house. So I would assume she still has.
And she said she's going to make a train that leaves in 20 minutes. So I don't think she's planning on stopping anywhere.
Yeah.
But I think that if anything, maybe she texted him or she texted Quincy and said, I'm not going to be in the office for the next couple of days. Here's why. And then Quincy, because this is a half an hour later. So then Quincy texted Tora and Tora came looking for her. What's going on? And I posted this whole thing on the page about this timeline about if she was 20 minutes ahead. If she was paced, or Dean was pacing for 30 minutes and Poppy was leaving on the train in 20 minutes. If he leaves now, she's really only got a 10-minute head start on the train. Right?
Oh, he could totally Tora. I could totally see Tora hopping in his car and speeding his way to Moonbright to the station and just being there and waiting for her when she gets out.
Yep. My obsessive thinking was like, well, can he make it? Yes, he can make it if he goes this way. If this happens and the moon is blue and
yeah. Yeah.
I'm like so anxious for the next episodes because I can just like see them. I don't know what is going to happen, but it's like they're going back to where they first met, first of all, which is just nice. And like,
because he's going to follow her.
Right.
He just is.
What's going on in Moonbright? Like why was Goliath there in the beginning, right? Something was going on in Moonbright back then. What is going on? Oh my gosh, what kind of shady people are there? Oh.
And then there's all these theories about Poppy's mom. What happened to her mom? Who was her mom? What happened? Is she dead? Did she leave them? Well, she left them, but why? Where did she go? Is she still alive? Is she still out there somewhere? Could she have some connection to this? So, I mean, the conspiracy theories are out there.
They are. They're crazy.
Royal hats, definitely.
So, yeah. Who knows?
This was such a great episode with just so many questions.
It leaves you with so many questions, but also leaves you satisfied in some aspects.
Yeah, what was so satisfying was Poppy's reaction to Julri. That was, to me, probably the most satisfying. That she was.
Oh yeah.
Put him in his place without question. I'm not even giving you an inch.
Yeah, I'm not listening to any of your bullshit.
Yep.
No.
Exactly.
Yeah. That was so satisfying. I think everyone wanted that. Everyone needed it.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're all united with it. Hate Julri fan club or
yeah, but I mean the anxiety. I'm gonna die of anxiety before Friday night happens.
Well, it's already Monday, so we have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, half a day. You're good.
It's like it's amazing. So during the entire break, I was like, not looking forward to Fridays and whatever. And so my weeks were like, whatever, like any other type of normal week that I would have before I ever had Midnight Poppyland in my life. And now it's like, God, can this week happen now? Like, it just needs to happen. It just needs to happen. It just needs to pass. It needs to be Friday again. Why isn't it Friday?
Yep.
It's insane because before I never even cared if it was Friday. I didn't even care if the week went by slowly because what were the days to me? Nothing. Now the days mean everything. It's like, yeah, now I need it to be Friday.
I hear about some people saying, I'm going to have to wait a couple of weeks. I'm going to wait. I'm not going to read it for a couple of weeks. And I'm going to binge it. I'm like, what's wrong with you? I can't even wait 5 days, 6 days. I can't wait.
I can't even wait a day, okay? Before
Sometimes I will put it up. Like, it has to be perfect. Like, I can't read now. I'm too tired. It's too late. I have too much going on. I'm too stressed. I'm not relaxed enough. So I'll wait until I'll read it like Saturday morning or Saturday night. Or sometimes I'll even wait till Sunday, but that's the latest. I will not. I make time to read it and going to read it and reread it. But yes, absolutely. The obsession. Absolutely.
I've always read it on a Friday night, except like I wouldn't read it right. The only times where I've like kind of delayed it is if I had like a dinner or something where I had to attend. But other than that, I am firmly in my bed, in my space with my ice cream.
Sometimes
9 o'clock.
Anyway.
Actually, it's like more like 8:45-ish. Yeah. And I banned Scott from interacting with me. I was like, you are gone. You are dead to me right now. Come back later. So
I just got my sister into reading it too, and she's just like, oh yeah, I forgot about it. I'm like, how can you forget?
Oh, that's nice.
No, I read it with my niece.
So my daughter, who actually introduced it to me, she stopped reading it, and I'm always like, "Come on, read it, please, please. I need some."
So funny.
How did someone stop reading it?
She moved on. I'm like, okay, thanks. And my husband's like, can't even get him to read a tube of toothpaste. Forget reading a whole webtoon.